Hi, and welcome to Clock.School. My name is Mark, and I'm the guy responsible for this site. I want to show you just a few features. The first thing is when someone tries to sign in, it'll ask if they're a student. If they are, it'll direct them to use the public directory to find their school. And so if you have listed your school schedule in the public directory, it'll show up in there. They'll have to search by city and state, but then they can find their schedule that way. Of course, you don't have to list it in the directory, and you can just share your link with whomever you'd like to be able to see your schedule. I'm going to go ahead and click Log In, and because I had already logged in with Google, I am just taken immediately to my dashboard. I'm going to click on Add Display and take you through the process of just getting started. I'm just going to call this my main display, and actually we'll just call it the main schedule. Now here's an important place where you're going to see Clock.School/bell. This is going to be your link for this display. So you'll need to make sure that it's something memorable and something that is not too long. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to call mine Johnston 2. You might want to choose something like this for a display that you're only going to use in your classroom. It might be a display that has a schedule that shows your specific break times or duties, and so you might want to set something up like this first just to give it a try. I'll click Submit Display. Now you're going to see some beta features in here that you will not see if you're not in the beta testing program. But let me just direct you to the parts that are important. Here you can copy your link. If I click that, I can then paste my link into an email or wherever. I can click the little I and it'll pull open a separate tab. There's another link here to view schedule. That'll just take you to the schedule in this window. So if I click that, you'll see it says main schedule. That's what I named it. And there's nothing there yet. If I go ahead and add schedule, I'm going to rename the schedule. And I'm just going to call this regular day. So this is my regular day schedule. It's not a half day, it's not an assembly schedule, and then I'll click Save. It's not currently active. I don't want to make it active until I have all the times that I need. I'll click Add Schedule Block. Now I need to put in my start time. Let's say I start at 7 a.m. and we'll say that's start of day, or maybe it's the announcements. And then I'll put in another schedule block. Let's say 7:30 a.m. is first period. I'm going to put in another schedule block. We'll say 8 a.m. is our passing period. Now, you might call it a passing period. In my school, we call it transition. And I'll just push Enter. And now I have my transition time. You'll notice that it will then tell me the duration of the class period once I have this done. Class periods don't have a start and ending time. They just have a start time and assume that the next thing in the schedule or the next schedule block is the end of that class period. So you will have to have some things like your transition or end of day. Let me add a couple more just to demonstrate. And then let's pretend that second period is our last period of the day and it ends at 8:35. We would want to put an 8:35 a.m. block called end of day or release or go home, or you don't have to go home but you can't stay here, whatever you want to put in there. And so now you can see that I have my start of day, maybe that's where announcements are, or a 0 period. I have my first period, I have a transition, and then I have my second period, and then end of day. At this point, I'm pretty much done. I can activate my schedule here, or I can go back to the display, and I see my schedule there listed as my regular day schedule, and I can activate it right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this schedule, and immediately I'm taken to this schedule called regular day copy. And let's just say this is where we have our half day. I'll click save. And notice I had activated the other one, so this one automatically activated. I'm going to turn that off real quick. Now here I can add more schedule blocks, or I can edit them. Let's maybe say that our half day just has first period, and then this one here is end of day. We should be so lucky. Now when I go back to the display, you'll see I have these two schedules. One is active and one is not. Now if I click view schedule, you'll see I have my main schedule saying second period, that there's only 12 minutes remaining and the bar is filling up, and then the very next thing would be the end of the day. So at this point, you're good to go. You can use this schedule. It's a regular day. But let's say tomorrow is a half day. Well, that morning, you would just go ahead and click to deactivate the regular day and activate the half day. Then when you view your schedule, there you are. You're on your half day schedule and whatever it's set for. You do have a few little themes you can choose. Personally, I like the high contrast. Now, back on the schedule, let me just show you a couple of our beta testing features that we're working on right now. Let's say I wanted both schedules active. Maybe instead of a regular day and a half day, maybe my regular day schedule is there's a 9th and 10th grade has a different schedule than 11th and 12th. I was at a school like that. Or maybe you have an A day schedule and a B day schedule, or you have all different kinds of schedules. Well, now you can have both side by side, but it starts to get a little not great to see everything, especially if you have more than two. So we do have this beta feature. If you join our beta program, you should be able to get access to these things. And you can look at the new display. The new display looks just like this. And you can have your normal view where you have the left and the right, or you can have a tabbed view where the viewer can change the tab that they want. And if these were ending at different times, you would see the time and the bar change as well. And of course all the cards down below. We also have a lot of other new features that we're beta testing. Let's go back to the schedule, Johnston 2. So here we are in the main display again. And this is the auto scheduler. So what I can do is I can enable auto on both of these schedules. Then I can say my regular schedule I always have on Monday, and it'll set it out 90 days out. It's not showing it here because we're already on October 30th, but if I click to November, there we go, we have them in November. Let's just say we always have regular schedule on Tuesday, but then for some reason we always have a half day. Maybe it's advisory or something on Wednesday, or this could be like your A day, B day. And if you don't have this A day always on a Monday or B day always on a Tuesday, you can just add them and drag them where you need. Might take a little bit of time, but once you get them in there, you can walk away and your schedules will change automatically based on the day. And if you have more than one, for instance, again, let's say you have a 7th, 8th grade, or 6th, 7th, and 8th grade all have different lunch times and have a different schedule. You can have them all in there for that day. And so you can set every single one of your days the way they need to be. Well, if you always had a schedule that you always wanted to show no matter what, you could disable auto. Now when you do this, it's going to remove it from the calendar. So where it was there before, it's disappeared. But it's active, so it'll always be active no matter what. So you'll always have at least this schedule. You could do that, and then that way on, say, Wednesday, November 5th, your half-day schedule will show up, or whatever it is. And your other schedule will only show up on the days that it's assigned, but it'll show up alongside your half-day schedule unless you deactivate it like that. So, hopefully this doesn't seem super complicated, because it's not. Once you get things configured, you really can just leave it alone, and you can just use your calendar, your schedule, to visually display what's going on in your classroom or hallway or wherever. Let me show you a couple other beta testing features. The display style. You saw that just a second ago. We have that V2. We also have custom, where you can change the colors, you can add a badge or your background image. You can also toggle whether or not you want people to be able to use the tab mode. You can also change the logic of the way the loading bar either fills or empties. And then you can even turn off that the color bar changes colors. Right now it starts green, turns orange, and then red, based on the amount of time that's remaining. And then we are working on the possibility of adding sound alerts. Most likely will start default off. You'll have to enable those if you really want them. And that's really it. If you want to have more than one display, say you want to have one in your classroom, one for the entire school, you want to have one for home, for your kids to know when bedtime is or story time is, you can have right now as many displays as you want. And each of those displays has a unique link, and then each of those displays has its own schedules. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to email support@Clock.School, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.